Hi and welcome to part 4 of my gaming story, which started when I was 9 years old, 35 years ago. I was there when the new consoles came out, and you could really see the differences between the previous and then newer machines. At this point in the story, we're moving to the next era of power with the PlayStation 1. Officially, just called PlayStation, it was released in 1994. And as you'll all probably know, the machine was a huge success. It played games via a CD instead of a cartridge, because the CD could hold a ton more data and the graphics were a massive leap forward, not to mention the much smoother frame rates. Back then in 95, when they released a new console, you could clearly see and feel the difference from the previous console. I remember playing a game called Driver.
Driver, you are the wheelman.
You were basically a getaway driver, and up until now, there just hadn't been a game like this. It looks similar to how GTA 3 turned out, with the same third-person view as when you're sat in a car, but with Driver, you were always in the car and you couldn't get out. But Driver was still a first-of-its-kind sort of game. Driver was released in June '99, and GTA 3 came out 2 years later. So this was quite a big deal that you could drive around a large city, driving freely wherever you wanted and completing missions. This was a new idea really. You could race around the city fine, but if the cops saw you speeding or bumping up curbs, their lights and sirens would come on and they would give chase. This was awesome. One of my favourite things to do in the game was to pull up nicely next to a cop car when the lights were red and stop. You wasn't allowed to run a red light. You could use one button to accelerate and pull off nicely, or a different button to just floor it and wheel spin like mad as you pulled off. The cop sirens would come on and you'd know the chase was on. And then you'd race along doing your best trying to lose them. You know, like you do now with GTA. This game likely inspired a large part of GTA. In 1996, when I was 19, came the amazing Nintendo 64. With 4 controller outputs and a new controller style, I fell in love with this machine and so did everybody else. But I had moved out by this point and I could no way afford one. In '96 I was still playing my Amiga 600 from 2 years previous, and I didn't get my N64 until Christmas of '97. During '98, when I was 21, I moved back home with my family, who had a basic PC at the time which was connected to dial-up internet. Finally, I had access to the World Wide Web, at a cost of 1 pence per minute, of course. I remember one of the first games I started playing on that PC was Heroes of Might and Magic. PlayStation continued their success with the PS2 in March 2000, and I made sure to grab one quickly. Yet again, Sony had smashed it out of the park with this console. So many people out there will be nodding their head in agreement. The PlayStation 2 did everything the first one did, but better, faster and bigger. It could handle first-person shooters much better than ever seen before. The first-person shooter to play back then was Medal of Honor, which was set in World War II.
30 seconds!
The PS2 didn't have built-in Wi-Fi internet or anything, so you had to go out and buy the PlayStation external network box, which fitted onto the back of the PS2, so I could go online with it. So I would go online on Medal of Honor and play Team Deathmatch, and I was pretty good as well. The thing is, and this is crazy to think about, back then going online to play a first-person shooter was considered to be really geeky. I mean, only geeks went online to play matches against other geeks. Guys that took their PCs to each other's houses and wired them together in complicated networks just so they could game with each other. Basically exactly what you do now, but with multiplayer. My friends weren't as much into gaming, but did find it interesting, but I was considered a geek and they regularly mocked me for it and had banter. Looks like I had the last laugh being way ahead of my time. The first Xbox and Nintendo GameCube were also competing in this space, but I didn't own them. At the time, the PS2 was the more popular console of the three. Next up, staying within the same power bracket, I had the PlayStation 3.
And that's all I have to say about that.
The PlayStation 3 did end up receiving a lot of criticism and complaints, mainly due to faults and failures with the power and overheating. When the PS3 was released on November 2006, it was competing against the Xbox 360 and the Nintendo Wii. The PS3 came with a Blu-ray player, which basically the latest Xbox couldn't even compete with. It had HD resolution, motion sensors, wireless controllers, and able to handle a 500 gig hard drive install. My favourite games on the PS3 were Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption, The Last of Us, Little Big Planet, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, Borderlands 2, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and XCOM Enemy Unknown. Thanks for checking out the final part of my gaming story. After the PS3, I bought the PS4 as soon as it was released, and I've had such an amazing time with it. I almost bought the PS5, but instead chose to move over onto PC Master Race, which is where I'm going at into 2022.